What is the role of cybersecurity in AI governance? Yes, even cybersecurity has evolved over the years, and now AI is coming up. And what role does cybersecurity professional have to play in this AI governance? And if you are an organization looking to set up AI governance, how do you go about it? Now, these are challenging questions, but these are relevant questions. And how do we answer these? And how about answering these questions with somebody who has been at the forefront of cybersecurity for a long time and has seen cybersecurity evolve from information to cyber and now is working on how to integrate AI into it? And I'm talking about none other than Prabh Nair, who's one of my dear friends. And also, you would have seen him in what do we call Coffee with Prabh on YouTube. And if you haven't, do take a listen to him even in those, of course, after this episode. For now, let's go and catch up with Prab on what is the role of cybersecurity in AI governance.
Hello, and welcome to the Fit for Privacy Podcast with Punit Bhatia. This is the podcast for those who care about their privacy. Here, your host, Punit Bhatia, has conversations with industry leaders about their perspectives, ideas, and opinions relating to privacy, data protection, and related matters. Be aware that the views and opinions expressed in this podcast are not legal advice. Let us get started.
So here we are with Prab Nair. Welcome Prab to Fit for Privacy Podcast.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving this opportunity and sharing a stage with the person who have followed the content and inspire me on data privacy. It's like a
It's the
dream come
same
true and coming to this podcast. Yeah.
the same for cybersecurity. I've been following your content for so many years and I'm like, okay, it'll be a privilege to have Prab sometime. So you've been in this journey of, I call it cybersecurity, but if we look back, maybe say 25 years back, it used to be physical security, facilities and everything. Then by the time I think you started your career 2005, 6, then it became information security. And now we are using the term cybersecurity. So can you start by elaborating how do you see the shift in last 15, 20 years from the era of when we were saying head of information security to now say cybersecurity? What changed? How did it move? And I mean, what's going on?
Thank you, sir. Thank you for this question. And it's really a amazing question you ask. And it is a great to start the session with this question. I want to give you a practical example of that, sir. This is basically a smartphone. I think you can see that. This is a
Yeah,
smartphone, right? But if you ask me 15 years back or 18 years back, okay, I don't think so that smartphone everyone has, right? No one has a smartphone that time. So we used to have a landline, if you remember. And I don't know whether you remember or not. In India, what we used to do is make sure no one should call. We used to lock that keypad.
I remember.
I'm going with a very basic example. You
Yes,
can
yes,
imagine the thought process. So information security was there in every house. Sorry, physical security was there in every house.
right.
So make sure the bill should not go high. So dad used to lock that particular keypad, so no one should call,
Perfect.
right? So that key is called as a password to unlock the pad, and you then call that person, right?
Yeah,
So that is called physical security to make sure only on no unauthorized person should able to access that phone and keypad to call the person.
correct.
Now things from there we basically move to pager. Then from pager we basically move to mobile. And now we have a mobile. Now, if I go to any temple, mosque, and church, wherever, okay, they used to have this physical locker and all that. So if I keep this phone in that physical locker, that is called physical security, where we get a key.
Correct.
Okay. But now that physical security is part of one umbrella, which is called information security, because kind of this mobile is carry information. Now, within this information, I have a digital information, and that is basically protect with my 4-digit pin code, which is called cyber security. So summary is very simple: is information security protect all kind of an assets, with the cyber security protect digital assets.
Okay.
Physical security is also part of information security. So information security now become umbrella under which we have a physical security, cybersecurity, and process security.
Okay,
That
that's
is how things
interesting.
work. Yeah.
So that's interesting. So moving from physical to digital to information to cyber, it's a nice evolution. But what has changed? Have the basic principles of security changed? Have the basic tenets of security changed? Well, because a few years ago, I was leading a program in online banking, and we were talking about we should validate what the person has, what do they know, that those kind of questions. So we were saying, what do they have a card, what do they know, they have a password. Then we say, okay, what do they know and we don't know, and we said, okay, let's call the customer ID. So those were the principles we were applying. Has that changed in this evolution, or is that still the fundamentally same principle being applied?
No, actually, the principles is always remain same. So we around three principles when it come to the information security. As I said, when I say information security, it include your physical security, cyber, and everything. One is called confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Okay,
Hmm.
let's take a live example, sir. Sir, when you're talking about a trust, okay, what is the criteria based on which we trust a person or a bank or anything? So, example, I trust Punit because I'm sharing some information with Punit, and based on this trust, we'll make sure Punit will not share information with other.
Exactly, it's a
Okay,
confidence factor.
exactly. So here, what happened is I got to know from third party Punit has shared that information with other. So what do you think? Shall I share the information again with you in future? No,
No.
right? Second is basically I ask you something, Punit sir, I'm struggling with this. Help me with this. Prab, do like this, do like that. And the information was wrong. Based on that, I take the decision and it went wrong. Will I trust you again? No.
No.
Punit sir told me, Prab, I'm always available whenever it required. But when I called Punit sir, he was not available. What do you think? Shall I come back to you again? No. Same thing happened in information security, cyber security, and physical security. So here, what happened? I locked that particular keypad. Same analogies. We have a telephone. We have locked the keypad with a key. So that is called confidentiality. Only make sure those who have a key they can able to call the person. Is it clear? Make sure when I basically dial the number, it should connect to the right number. That's called integrity. And when I'm trying to call, it must be available because we're doing a billing based on that. And if it's not available, I will discontinue the phone. That's called availability. So CIA is always there. Till
Hmm.
today, we are using CIA.
Hmm.
Banking sector use integrity because for them, data is important. Accuracy of data is important. Healthcare is basically focused on your confidentiality. Your
Right.
privacy vertical is focused on confidentiality. E-commerce focus on availability. Yes, there is another important term which is came out of these three is called authenticity,
Right.
which is basically subsection of the integrity. And today, authenticity is the base of AI.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is how. So as the things goes, in a different stage and all that, these three always remain same.
Hmm.
Under which you can see the multiple sector. Now, under the confidentiality, we introduce secrecy,
Hmm.
privacy. You get my point. Under the
Yeah.
integrity, we introduce authenticity, accuracy. Under the availability, we have redundancy and all that. So as more and more things are basically evolved in this industry, in the business, the CIA is further divided into multiple things. But always remember, we have the CIA only, no matter in the cyber security, physical security, information security. So
Right.
there's no change in that. And now
Okay.
coming to the part of to verify, so that is access control, which is called
Yeah.
identification, authentication, and authorization. These
Correct.
three are the element of confidentiality to achieve. Let's say example Gmail. When you open first time Gmail, it asks for the username and then it asks for the password to make sure only right person can access the email records. So here confidentiality is the outcome, but the control that I use here is access control, when which is achieved with the help of identification, authentication, authorization. So we have a two things here. One is basically called as a principle, which is called CIA triad, and one is called as access control, which is called IEEE. And if you notice this, both are basically common in all the three vertical of security. I miss one important thing, as you said, Prab. Is any change in the information, physical security, information security? Definitely. As I said initially, we used to hire security guards. We used to have a police. We used to have a cop. We used to have a personal guards to protect the servers or protect the house assets and all that. Now things go digital. Now we need to protect the process also, change management, patch management, all that. So that come under the information security because information security overall is called as a people, process, and technology.
Correct.
And then from there we have a digital data. For that we have a cyber security. So triad and controls are always same, no matter it's a physical, logical, or technical, whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Only the perspective got changed. Yeah.
Okay. So when we say, I like to build on this. So when you say people, process, and technology, there is this new, what do you say, rumor or myth or media buzz, let's put it like that, which is saying the technology is going to evolve significantly in next 10, 20 years. What we are going to see is astronomical growth in that part. Now we are using the terms like artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotics, whatever we call it. And they
Hmm.
are saying while all this used to be people, process, and technology based, it will be more process and technology based, less people based. While we can debate the people part because that we will know in 10, 20 years, but I'm more curious to explore the technology part. So if this AI, as it's being demarked or as it being announced, happens, so what role does it have to play, and how do you see that happening, especially in the context of this security? Because you explained what happened 15, 20 years ago or last 20 years, so let's go forward next 20 years.
Very good question, actually, and I want to give a very another. I believe in examples because you saw my memes also. I believe in examples. When you're
Okay.
talking about artificial intelligence is divided into two parts. One is
Mm-hmm.
called generative AI, and one is called predictive AI.
Correct.
Okay. When you're talking about generative AI is basically about like creating a code, content, materials, and all that. And the best example of generative AI is ChatGPT.
Right.
And if you take example of predictive AI is basically all about giving recommendations and all that by using a various AI and machine learning.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing if you notice here is generative AI is more like a input of the human.
Right.
In revert, it automatically creating a data for my predictive AI also, because today if I enter any data in ChatGPT, it become
Mm-hmm.
a database for them. So next
Mm-hmm.
time when Punit is searching the same query, he get the same information because they believe that what Punit now enter, he looking for this information, which initially it was not given to Prab. Because Prab
Mm-hmm.
now have processed the right data, so we giving the right information. So what happened here is, now coming back to your question, why I was talking about this generative AI, predictive
Yeah.
AI, because in these two aspects, one common concern we have discovered in last 10 year or 5 years, sorry, since the AI was there, uh, it become it created toxic behavior. Okay, there was a breach of privacy. Okay, copyright issues, infringement issues, and since the chat gpt came, you saw the lot of people become author in LinkedIn. And it doesn't, it will really take 300 3000 word 4000 word to build at least week to prepare such kind of a content, and now you can see every day they can build a new content,
Yeah.
right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Absolutely, I see
Yeah,
that.
so Punit has spent his 5 days on research, and he built some content. Okay, and Punit has shared this content on one website. Please understand this. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
chat gpt, okay, or I'm not taking any AI example. So
Chat GPT, Copilot, or
anything,
what
anything,
is
anything,
it?
anything, anything. They have a
Gemini.
plugins, they have a integrate, and they have your data.
Yeah.
So next time, Prabh has basically entered the query importance of AI in privacy. So keyword match, trigger match, they fetch the content which is already there of Punit Bhatia.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's become my content.
Yeah. Generated
Little bit.
for you.
So who spent the effort, who spent his time is Punit, and who enjoy the content is Prabh. So here what happened, why is cybersecurity is important in now two things are there. One is cybersecurity in AI, cybersecurity in AI, or AI in cybersecurity. Both are different things.
Yeah.
So if I say cybersecurity in AI, it means how to protect this data and all that in AI. Make sure it should able to generate a right data. It should not disclose any sensitive information. If you remember, we have seen the example of where initially ChatGPT was generating a Microsoft product IDs also.
Yeah.
So here what happened? If you think from an AI expert perspective, okay, their goal is to basically produce a more and more content, more and more accurate input. But in that case, what happened? They do mistake. They reveal some unnecessary information, which is a unauthorized information for the other parties. Now, what is the role of security here is to make sure fine tune the data, identify the source of data, verify the source of data, validate the source of data. So that is the role of a security in AI. And if I take an example of role of security in AI, again the goal is
Mm-hmm.
same.
Yeah.
Data should be confidential. Only regenerate what is relevant. Make sure whatever is generating it is accurate, and it must be available.
Yeah.
So again, we back to same. So there's no change in security because you know why? Because security is not a function; it is a process. It is a process which we
Yeah.
amend and adopt according to need of the business. So yes. Recently, what happened is there was a video was circulated on YouTube. I don't know whether you saw that. So the Chat GPT architect has given the interview how the AI model Chat GPT worked. So you can see that there's a lot of data pointers has been talking about in that area, and we
Mm-hmm.
learn from our mistakes. We right now people have taken the AI as a race. AI is not a race. It is basically a it is a journey. It's a beautiful journey. We should respect that journey. It is not a one-time solution. Okay, Monday we have built something. By Friday the product will be ready. No, this is the mistake people does. They are in a hurry. They build a product, but they fail to ignore the security controls, validations, privacy, and everything. And that is why the role of security play a very important role in AI. Now, coming to the second part of your question is basically all about how security can be used. Sorry, how the AI can be used in security.
Correct.
Opposite. So, example now we take example, sir. Okay, if Mr. Punit is basically browsing Naukri.com. Okay, so what is any popular website of job portal
Yeah,
in general?
jobs.com, no problem. Same thing.
Job.com. Okay, and he using a company laptop. So this is the pattern we have discovered. So initially, what happened? There's a human who collect the data, and based on that, he created a rule book. But now, what happened? AI is there, who can basically process the data, fetch the information, and based on that, he will predict. The only thing which is improved by using AI in cybersecurity is fastest way to respond to the attacks, fastest way to detect the attack, fastest way to correct the attack. That is the only thing. But again, 100% accuracy is not possible, and people doing this mistake. So that is the goal. That is a role which is coming as a role of AI in cybersecurity. So two things are there: cybersecurity in AI and role of AI in cybersecurity. Both are different. It is not same.
Yeah, no, I
Now,
agree
if we
with
take
you.
and recent example, I don't put it, sir, like the VAPT is there, vulnerability assessment penetration testing.
Yeah.
If you hire any consultant penetration tester, so what he do is basically charge $600 to $700, okay, per day. Now we have a automation pen testing nowadays. That concept is called as a BAS, breach attack simulation. It's a new concept actually. So in
Mm-hmm.
that case, I don't need to hire a pen tester. I will deploy the agent in my laptop in my enterprise. I will enter the IP. They have a attack profiles. They use the same attack profile, and based on that we do the test. So Puneet, the thing from this perspective, you are the business owner. Instead of
Mm-hmm.
paying a $600 per day to the pen tester, you're okay to invest $1,000, and
Mm-hmm.
which giving you the detail every day for
Yeah.
every hour. That is a good call, right?
Correct.
So this is how it basically changing the thing. So, but again, we cannot blindly trust the AI. We need
Exactly.
some kind of a process to predict and all that. So that is how it works.
So essentially, what you're saying is, especially using AI in cybersecurity, the concept will be it will be making it much more faster, much more reliable,
Exactly.
but not without human oversight, with
Exactly.
human oversight. As long
Exactly.
as the human is in control and able to make those judgment, because the word I like to introduce now is the bias, because
Ha.
AI by itself would read the data that you give, and it doesn't
Yeah.
have the intelligence, even though we call it artificially intelligent.
Yes.
It has the
Yes.
logical and rational thinking, let's put it like that, but it doesn't have
Exactly.
the psychological, emotional interpretation capabilities that it can judge what it is. Like a few years ago, you would have noticed Amazon put in chatbots to filter out the recruitment profiles.
Hmm.
Now, the recruitment profile looked at the back data. The back data had less women and more men. So, what it thought
Hmm.
is, I need to hire men. So, it started to
Exactly.
filter out women, and only select men.
Exactly.
And a few months later, they realized it, and then they had to backtrack. Same thing happened in the UK government when the benefit system was being biased. So, what you are saying is, we need to put a human in control so that this bias can be addressed or be managed proactively. But
And one more important thing we have in
sure.
this, Puneet, sir. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, no.
There is a one more important thing which people are missing. You know what? Transparency.
Yes.
If we are entering any kind of a data in ChatGPT, okay, we don't know the source of the data. At least Gemini giving you source. Yahoo is
Mhm.
giving, sorry, Microsoft Copilot is giving source. But when ChatGPT was introduced, they don't talk about the source. What is the source of the data they're providing?
Mhm.
We put our hard work in a ChatGPT. Now there's a new profile called prompt engineer. Okay,
Mhm.
in India you can become a prompt engineer in 3,000 rupees. What is the role of prompt engineer is to enter the prompt. That is a
Yeah.
new job. Now they believe. I don't want to say this in a session, but there's a lot of new author came after the ChatGPT. You know, you can see a lot of books also. But nowadays, what happened? People are recognizing. If you go to Amazon, their book reviews, you can see negative comments. They
Mm-hmm.
can simply say that okay, it's a language of ChatGPT.
Yeah.
So here, the another important thing after biasness is the transparency. Suppose Punit sir go to restaurant for having some Indian food and all that. So sir, tell me something. They have a transparent glass, okay, in which you can see how they basically cooking the food, how they're making a food and all that. Does it build the trust factor for you?
It does, but it also creates the disgust factor if they're not
How?
doing it well.
Exactly. But that glass shows the transparency.
Correct.
Okay. Now they are making something in the back, we don't know. So it is always a matter of doubt. Is it a safe or not?
Correct.
So ChatGPT that introduced that concern initially. What happened is Google Bard or Gemini understood this as a lesson learned. Copilot has understood as a lesson learned. So they have start giving a URL link. This is how we judge the AI. Same, if I'm using a cybersecurity solution which is AI based, it basically predicting any threat and all that, I should know the source. So
Yeah.
second most important principle after biasness is basically transparency. What is the transparency of the solution? How they
Mm-hmm.
collecting data? What they collecting data? How they verifying the data? What is the data
Mm-hmm.
pointers? That is another important thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when it come to privacy areas, also it become a definitely a threat
Mm-hmm.
because if you're going to use privacy data with the applications and all that, you should know the source of the data. Otherwise, government can sue you easily if you're using
Correct.
any solution which is predicting a health benefits and all that.
So, isn't it now then when you introduce the word transparency and privacy,
Hmm.
we are getting into because the question of how do you introduce this human oversight or control over AI? And in the corporate world, we call it how do you govern this technology called AI? So, how do you see it? For me, it should be a set of, it's a matter of governance, just like as governance is having some principles, having a policy, and having some steering or a committee which oversees it. But how do you see it? Or if you want to take in any of the principles, what do you see as principles?
Sir, let me first tell you the definition of AI governance because
Go
different
ahead.
different people have a different dilemma about AI governance.
Right.
So first of all, these two things are governance and AI.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, governance and AI. Governance is called a set of operation, which
Mm-hmm.
include the strategy, policy, procedures, and right person.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So same thing, a set of rule is basically create to manage the process. Okay, in
Mm-hmm.
AI. That is called AI governance. Now, what is a process? Make sure whatever we processing it must be ethical.
Mm-hmm.
So we introducing a set of rules for ethical, set of
Mm-hmm.
rule for transparency.
Yeah.
Then we talk about accountability. Okay,
Yeah.
and another important part we called as a when we deploying any solutions, AI solutions, it should be deployed and developed according to the predefined function of the business. That is the first part of AI governance. Second part is basically when whatever the AI application you are using, you need to be very clear with why.
Yeah.
Like in data privacy, we also say until unless your why is not clear about
True.
data collection, it is a breach of compliance.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, sir. And the best way
Absolutely.
to
I
protect
think even
yourself
for
against
humans,
GDPR is data
the why
minimization.
should
Yeah.
be clear.
So here, what happened? The goal is to harness the AI, so it can able to produce the right data for right user in the right manner. I don't know whether you have seen this Rajnikant movie Robot. It's a
No, I
very well
haven't.
trend. Huh? Yeah. So there's a movie Rajnikant Robot, but let me take another way. Is like Terminators are there, right? Terminator
Right.
movie. Okay, so that is the example of AI.
Yeah.
How you basically fine tune. So I purchase a robot. Okay, and they feed the data in the robot with some biasness and all that to solve the toys and all that. But now what happened? As the same example, they have a 60% data of some characteristics. So if that characteristics of person is basically speaking to the robot, they're replying. Okay, and if the other category of person is trying to speak, they're not replying. So here what happened? Biasness issue came. So when you're working for the product company or when you're working for the company who are into service industry and they're introducing AI, make sure they should create a set of rule for this kind of a things. And when you're creating a framework for all these metrics, that is basically called as a AI governance.
Right.
So, but when you're talking about AI governance part and all that, we have a five principles. Transparency, maintain a transparency. Second is basically called privacy is there. Third is basically accountability is there. Fourth is security is there, and fairness is there. So these are the five important principles we have around AI governance.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to see how you basically balance that and how you basically ensure. this principle you will maintain in the company.
Absolutely. I think I'm fully with you, whether it's privacy, whether it's security, whether it's AI, or whether it's risk management, or even compliance. It's about identifying the principles which you want to comply with, because then take a principle based approach to create a policy. Then you set up a set of rules, call it operations, how you will manage operations, and at which level, what do you expect people to do. And that's essentially what you need to do. And that same thing in AI. And when you do that correctly and effectively, you have right results, or the bias is less, let's put, because you won't have zero bias, you'll have less bias. But
Exactly.
then there comes an important question, because you are representing the security professionals, CISOs and everybody, and I'm representing the CPOs and the DPOs, let's say. And these people have a question. Now I had my privacy governance, I had my security governance. And now
Hmm.
this new animal or new thing is popping up called AI governance.
Hmm.
Is it going to be separate? Do I have a role to play as a CPO, DPO, CISO, information security vice president, information security, or I let them do it and come to me for security and privacy? How do you see that?
One thing is that when it definitely AI and ML, whatever is there, it will be part of CTO. If the company has a profile called CTO, he is the one who will be the accountable. I will tell you
Right.
the hierarchy of the company. Now, on paper, even it's basically IPP certification or IC2 certification or ISACA certification, we say CISO, CIO, or CTO should report as high as possible in the organization,
Yeah.
just to maintain the accountability and all that, or visibility. But practicality, if you see about these processes, CEO doesn't want to take any stress. To be frank, he don't want to take any responsibility, accountability of any domain independently. So that is why, if you notice, they CIO make CTO as an independent role, CIO as an independent role, or CISO as an independent role. The reason is basically very simple, is because they have a predefined process. Now, answer to your question is why I have started the statement, because it is also depending upon the power what you carry in the company. Because based on the power, your roles and structures has been defined. Now, coming back to your question is, Prab, will it be a separate profile? Definitely. CIO and CTO will be the one who handle this particular query because it come under the CTO part. That is the
Mm-hmm.
one thing. Now, if there's a politics, that's a different story.
Yeah.
But if there is a politics, then definitely CTO and CIO will take this on paper. But as I can see in the future, there will be new profile definitely there, which is called as a chief AI officer or chief
Mm-hmm.
ML officers and all that.
Yeah.
Now, I can't reveal the project details which I recently I did, but yes, I was part of another project where they have told me to build the AI governance framework in the organization. So here, what happened is it has been divided into four parts. Okay, and I
Mm-hmm.
was basically working with CTO because he is the creator of that particular solution for the company. So
Mm-hmm.
what we did is basically, it's a very interesting thing. So what happened is we had a first thing which is called as a governance charter, in which we basically explain about what kind of a information, what kind of a data we need to add
Mm-hmm.
in this process. So governance charter is the first thing. Like, okay, we are very clear. Okay, the company was into healthcare,
Mm-hmm.
and the company is basically want to. I cannot reveal, but what happened is in that company, what they want is they want to build some kind of a things to feed some basic information, and it is basically generate a result, and based on that, they can do the pre basic treatments.
Mm-hmm.
So mission is to basically automate the task and do the initial level of screening. So we got this visibility, and what we did is we enter all this information, and we
Mm-hmm.
have appoint one person which is called as a AI ethic officer.
Okay.
Okay, AI ethic officer. Make sure
Right.
AI should work in ethic manner. Ethic manner mean
Correct.
maintain privacy, biasness. Opposite of biasness, your principle we don't
Bias.
call biasness, we call fairness.
Yeah.
Yeah, we call fairness. So we have appointed the AI ethic officer, and he was
Mm-hmm.
nowhere. He was one of the person who report to the CTO, because on the paper we have to make sure there should be one guy. Then we have organized all the information. Okay, this kind of a thing the user going to feed. So
Mm-hmm.
AI will be built around this area. Then the second thing what we did, we basically reach out to stakeholders. Okay, to understand their expectation, and that is basically called as a stakeholder analysis. We
Mm-hmm.
did, and based on that what we did, we also based on the defense stakeholder, we check the legal regulatory. Okay, so we check the PIPDA, we check the GDPR and all that, because we're expecting some customer from a different location.
Mm-hmm.
And based on that, we complete the first stage, which is called develop the strategy. Then we build the governance structure document for them, in which we talk about how the AI is going to work and all that. This is a set of pointers, LLM language and all that. Because what is the mistake people does is they just follow some LLM code and all that, and they build their own API. It is very important. You need to have AI by design, privacy by design, security
Yeah.
by design, which people miss. And the recent blunder happened with Ola. In India, they have introduced this new AI, and it was mentioned powered by OpenAI. Eh, So you can imagine what kind of a blunder has happened. So this is what we need to know. So here we introduce a AI ethic policy. It's very important to introduce AI ethics policy. Okay, how AI is going to work. Then we have introduced also data governance policy. Okay, and then we introduce a AI risk management framework. So this is how we introduce a governance structure for that. And one
Okay.
important thing is that when we introduce this AI risk management framework, okay, how the so in that we have fine tuned the predictability of likelihood and impact. Then we have an implementation plan, then we have a training and awareness, and then finally we create a guideline. So this is how we basically build the entire AI governance framework for the company. Definitely each and every step have a different role. Second part of your question is, Prab, how we can integrate. Definitely when I said the phase one, to have a data input, what kind of a data, during that time we take the CISO advisory. Okay, we are going to process this kind of a data with this set of pointers. Make sure what kind of information we need to mask. Here we involve the DPO also. Yeah, so from according to GDPR and all that, are we processing the data in the right manner? Because we have to make sure we are processing the data in the right manner and does not reveal any too much information to unauthorized person according to processor. And also we introduce pseudonymization, masking. So here we involve the DPO instead of having a DPO as a separate profile.
Mm-hmm.
So during a stakeholder analysis, we involve the DPO and CISO. And when we're creating AI ethic policy, we involve the DPO and CISO. And when we're creating a deployment guideline, there we involve the CISOs and all that. So here you can see that security and privacy run parallelly.
Yeah.
So that is how we drive the things. Yeah.
I think I fully agree with you. In terms of the steps on how do you move forward from, say, not having an AI governance to having an AI governance, these are the steps to be followed. And sometimes what happens is people tend to confuse it with who will do it.
Hmm.
Is it my role as a CISO? Is it my role as a DPO? Or is it AI officer's role? And what do I have to do if all three are there? And that I think doesn't matter. It is
Exactly.
work to be done. What you described very eloquently is the process. So don't get into the roles, the CPO, DPO, or AI officer. This is the work to be done. Who does it doesn't matter. In a very small company, it will be one person doing all three, probably, let's say. In a very large organization, there will be definitely three people and having their own departments and own teams and maybe some politics and fun also. And then in a mid-sized organization, maybe one of the DPO or CISO is being asked to take up the AI responsibility, or AI is with the technology officer, and then CPO and CISO are combined. So that's basically how do you design the organization. So there are two
Exactly.
parts: how do you design the process, and how do you design the organization. So people need to keep this design of the organization, because design of the organization is a function of the budgets, size, and scale they have. But
Hmm.
in terms of the process would remain same, and who does it is completely immaterial for us.
One more important thing I think the miss is third part is called how do you design the technology. One is
Yeah.
design the process, how do you design the organization. Third is basically how do you design the technology.
Yeah.
So what happened? That is the reason. So when I talk about the stakeholder analysis, we create a committee there actually, Punit sir.
Correct.
That committee is basically called as a steering committee. So in that committee, what happened is we involve the operation team representatives. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
example like we have a data privacy engineer, DPO. Instead of DPO, if you have a data privacy engineer, process developer, okay, security architect, software designer, okay. Then from senior management, if they have any kind like CEO is not possible, then they basically appoint a COO or CMO and all that. And we also have a one profile which is called product lead. So product lead is the one who's a custodian of this entire solution which we build. Again, sir, try to understand here is if you notice AI use everywhere as a product, not as a
Yeah.
process. So if I have seen recently there was a one app was there where you basically just stand next to the phone. Okay, they will capture your image, and they capture my video and all that, and based on the AI and technology and all that, they will give me the idea about my posture. Let's take an example. Okay, so there's a company which basically building a AI product. If I'm running a training company, I don't want AI in my process. Huh, I will better buy AI as a solution. So AI, whatever the trend is coming, it is basically used as a product, not as a process. We are
Yep.
introducing a process to how to fine tune the AI. Okay, ठीक है. अब
Correct.
ये we have this AI in my, I have purchased this AI in my organization. So before deployment, how this is going to be work? What is my expectation from the vendor who providing me the API? Okay, this is what AI governance all about.
Correct.
Right? This is basically my expectation. You tell me, will you meet that or not? So this become a preventative control. Okay, your AI is meeting my transparency principle, fairness principle, security principle, privacy principle. Are you purchasing one AI which asking me to enter your health report and all that? It automatically breaching my first principle, which is called privacy principle.
Right.
So AI governance was not introduced to build, use as a product. It is introduced as a process where it can be used to build a product for the customer. We are doing that, or when we buy any solution as a AI, how to use them. From that perspective was introduced. That's why a lot of government has took the initiative. Singapore government has introduced AI framework. It's a very very good framework. Then Brazilian government has introduced a framework. So we have now countries who introduce this particular frameworks.
Yeah, indeed. I think I've sort of read through India's guidelines also on AI and the EU AI Act, of course. But all of them are talking about the same thing. Make sure the product, the service you build or you deploy, doesn't matter, is conformant to certain principles, and in the end will not create any harm to the society or human mankind. And in doing so, you as a company demonstrate accountability. And how do you do it? By incorporating the principles of transparency, fairness, ethic, and responsible. Or you can use different words, and
No,
that's
we can have this
essentially
five
the action.
principle. No. We can have only this five principles, sir. We can have this five principle, and based on this five principle, you can prepare a checklist. Okay,
Absolutely.
what is the expectation, and based on that, you can basically assess the vendor,
Yeah, and then the
which is
next
not.
step is building in, while you have the principles, while you have all this, building in, bringing in diverse perspectives, and that's where CISO, DPO, CRO, compliance
Exactly.
officer, legal have a role to play, because everyone comes from their mindset. Because if I put the CTO or the CIO, they are always
True.
coming from technology mindset. If I put the CFO, they are coming
True.
from financial mindset. But if I put these people also, then there are diverse perspectives, and then you have what we call creative tension and balanced decision making.
True. True. And actually, this is missing. This is not there in the company. Now, Punit has told someone, Prab, you guys should use ChatGPT, and we have started using ChatGPT without considering our business requirement.
Correct.
So that
Even
is why
worse,
we need this governance. Yeah.
even worse, some techie guy got to know that there's a fancy technology, ChatGPT Copilot. He or she deploys it because that's his
Integrate.
domain to decide what to deploy or not, starts using it, and some of the other colleagues don't know. And that's where, when you were introducing the governance aspect, I had an example when a company said it's not IT, it's not business, it's separate, it's data governance, and they put
Mm.
AI, privacy, data quality, all those governance in that. So simply calling it data governance. So there are different ways of reaching the same objective, and there's no simple answer. Let's put it like that. But it is going to
Eh,
be the next set of questions or challenges people are going to face, especially as the legislation on AI matters increases.
Yeah, so I can give you an example here. Example, when I recently, when we're talking about the assessment of one of the product we did, because we build the governance there and we are assessing any product based on that framework.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take a very basic example, so document transparency. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
transparency is one of the principle in our AI governance,
Yeah.
and this was the app which basically it was an AI app in which you feed email ID and name, it automatically create a report for you.
Mm-hmm.
We asked very simple question is, according to in order to meet the transparency criteria, we have asked them, can you share the system design and your development process and further operational methodology? That was simple question we have asked, and they don't have any answer, because later we got to know they all itself they use the integrated API chat way something from other source.
Correct.
Second question we have asked them about, explain me the decision making process of this AI. Okay, so if you remember, we did the past podcast in which you itself told me, Prab, We have a system 1, we have a system 2 in AI. System 1 is basically pulling the data, system 2 is basically trigger the data. So we are not pulling, we are not working, we're working on the triggering. What kind
Yeah,
of a data AI will be going to produce? We ask a very simple question is, and thanks to you, because of you, I asked that question because I was not having that visibility and all that. So, and kudos to you, so credit to you. So I basically asked second question is basically tell me the decision support system. These two basically question give me the idea how AI is going to work. So
yep,
if you're clear with the transparency, you get the visibility of privacy. So I always say transparency is a base for privacy, your fairness, security, and functionality.
correct.
So that is how. So it will give you the idea of everything. Then second thing, I basically also ask them about the recent audit reports. Give me the audit report of your AI decision system and all that. By that we get a visibility about their fairness requirement. How fair it going to be take a decisions. What kind of a diverse actions they will take. These things are missing in the company, sir. We are not following this
Absolutely.
checklist. Okay, we're just having some shallow checklist and based on that we do the assessment. But we should have this kind of a checklist that by which we can able to assess the vendor.
Absolutely. So now, in essence of time, if I roll back, we started with the journey from cybersecurity or information to cybersecurity, how AI will play a part, and AI needs to be governed in a principle-based manner and through a process. And I would say it has been a fascinating conversation all across different spectrums. But in conclusion, I think we can say whatever your role, CISO, DPO, compliance officer, legal officer, AI is here and you need to embrace it. And whether it's part of your role or a different role, still it will be part of your role because you'll have a role to play in it. Because that's what
Agree,
we have been saying all along.
agree. And one important thing is that follow the principle of privacy by design, security by design, and your assessment as in design stage instead of waiting for the development. And
Yeah,
transparency should be your base to
right.
validate the AI. That
Yeah,
basically meet all the criteria.
absolutely. And with that, I would say thank you so much, Prab, for your time. It was wonderful to
Welcome.
have you. And for listeners, in case they don't know, there's also something called Coffee with Prab, which is a very useful insights on YouTube, and they would like to subscribe to that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for recommending my YouTube channel, and you're doing great. And uh, we will have one more podcast with on my
Absolutely,
channel.
many more.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for listening. If you liked the show, feel free to share it with a friend and write a review. If you have already done so, thank you so much. And if you did not like the show, don't bother and forget about it. Take care and stay safe. Fit for Privacy helps you to create a culture of privacy and manage risks by creating, defining, and implementing a privacy strategy that includes delivering scenario-based training for your staff. We also help those who are looking to get certified in CIPPE, CIPM, and CIPT through on-demand courses that help you prepare and practice for certification exam. Want to know more? Visit www.fit4privacy.com. That's www.fit4privacy.com. If you have questions or suggestions, drop an email at hello@fit4privacy.com. Until next time, goodbye.